Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their natal Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn. Jupiter is a planet of expansion, which means growth opportunities. And opportunity itself, we could call that luck, is plentiful with Jupiter. And in a particular sign, it will show us what what area is particularly favored. But it's important to note that Jupiter is not a personal planet, and therefore it's even more crucial to look at where your Jupiter resides in your natal chart, because that will be more personal to you than the sign that it occupies. In this case, we're talking about Capricorn. Capricorn rules the 10th house of career. Its ruler is Saturn. So Saturn is the planet of the long haul. It's not about immediate gratification by any stretch of the imagination. Saturn rules old age. So somebody with Jupiter and Saturn can expect to receive their blessings in a rather delayed way. And this is one reason why it's at cross purposes with Jupiter, which just wants to feel that sense. When we talk about expansiveness, there's a freedom attached to it. There is, something that is abundant. And Saturn is very conservative. So it, kind of doles out things little by little if you're willing to do the work. So they are colliding, in this case. However, I would say that there is a lot to be said for this placement, and it can be quite good. Jupiter is considered in its fall in Capricorn because it is opposite Jupiter's exaltation in Cancer. And so the way that Jupiter operates when it's in the sign of Capricorn is considered restricted. But if the person is diligent, eventually they will get the blessings that Jupiter provides. As I record this, we are in a year with a Jupiter in Capricorn transit. And this has been discussed about how Jupiter is very awkwardly placed when it's in Capricorn. So the transit will have similar qualities as the natal placement. However, it can have the same benefits. So if you happen to be listening to this recording in 2020, understand that whatever you undertake, if you are serious about laying down foundations in a certain area, and you should definitely see where Jupiter's transiting in your natal chart to gain more information about this, that you can yield results for years to come because of Saturn's foundational energy or influence. And, Capricorn ruling that 10th house of career, this can be especially a boost to career matters. But again, are you willing to put in the hard work now? So with Jupiter in Capricorn, we're looking at what are the blessings that are bestowed upon the person and how can they, partake in them in the future, or even, talking about right now going into the future. One thing is that this will give you, when you're young, perhaps some great role models. And this could be somebody like, maybe you have both sets of grandparents who live near to you when you're growing up, and you're able to spend a lot of time with them and partake in their wisdom and their way of life, which will obviously, when you're dealing with older people, there may be that kind of those old-fashioned ethics that you absorb and you utilize in your own life. And this can be especially helpful if you are from a broken family, your parents have divorced, maybe you were born to a single parent, and you don't have one of your parents, or even in some cases both of your parents in your life, and you're able to mingle around these older people. Maybe it's not a grandparent, but some other type of mentor, like a great uncle or aunt, or whatever, somebody like that. And these people anchor you. I was looking at the symbol of Capricorn, of Saturn, and it looked like an anchor, and I thought to myself, yes, that is really what the purpose of Saturn is all about. And then I thought, I'm so clever. Did I make this up, or did I read this somewhere? But in any case, the other thing too is that you will look at career matters as being a blessing in your life, as a joy. You're not going to see your career as some kind of a thing that you just have to do in order to get the money. The joy will lie in the career itself, because Capricorn rules the 10th house, which is the house of success. Of your place in the world, your reputation, of career, hopefully career success, but career of, I guess I'm saying success because that is the goal in the 10th house, is to have a reputation that makes it so that you appear successful in the eyes of others. So there's always going to be that desire for it. If you have Mars in the 10th house, for instance. But with Capricorn, we're talking about stature, status, and also this idea of rising in the ranks. There's a hierarchy associated with Capricorn. And so this can mean that you are going to get to a higher level. But it's not something that's instantaneous. It's something that you have to put in the legwork, and then you will achieve it eventually. It may take quite a while to scale that mountain. Capricorn is a symbol of the mountain goat. And so the climbing that is associated with Capricorn makes a lot of sense when we consider this animal. But the thing is, what happens when you get to the top of the mountain? Do you feel fulfilled? And this is the paradox of life, is that if a person has like this burning desire and they dedicate their whole life to it, what happens when they get to the top of the mountain and they have sacrificed other areas of life? They may feel that it wasn't worth it. So it's important, even if career is paramount to you, and this will be especially enhanced if your sun is also in Capricorn, as well as, I would say even Leo. Leo is a workaholic, just like Capricorn. Virgo is very unassuming and may not be as outwardly ambitious as a Leo or a Capricorn, but they still have that work ethic that can make them a natural for really embodying the traits of Jupiter in Capricorn when it comes to career matters. So somebody like that, or Taurus, all the earth signs actually, but Leo for the fire, and maybe Aries. So in any case, particularly with those signs, you may find that your other areas of life, maybe you delayed your personal life and looking for a life partner and maybe having children. And so the best way to deal with having Jupiter in Capricorn is honoring your ambition, but also making time for self-care and a personal life. Never to allow it to take to your career ambitions to take over to such a degree that you find yourself alone and regretting the fact that you were too concentrated on this one area of life. So other things that may occur because somebody has Jupiter in Capricorn is that you may be attracted to groups that have this sort of hierarchy. And one of the areas where this may occur is perhaps if it's like a club that is connected to business, that may be where some people are the experts and they're giving advice to other people. I can't think of any examples offhand because I don't belong to any groups like that, but perhaps you know what I'm talking about. And when you are climbing that ladder of success and you get there, it can be long lasting because once something takes hold with Capricorn, it can be it can have a lot of staying power. So that is really helpful. Keep in mind that if you have hard angles, or especially with what are called malefic planets, again, we have to be very careful about labeling planets as good or bad, but, the difficult, challenging planets like Saturn, if your natal Jupiter is in, clashing with your natal Saturn, or perhaps Pluto, something like that, Mars, there may be even more delays. But I would say one thing to keep in mind is that you want to kind of give back. That's kind of how I feel about it, is that, if you're somebody who is blessed with a great career, and that you have been helped by people who are authority figures, because this can certainly be the case. The 10th house, Capricorn, I'm associating it with that, are people who are able, to help you because they are in positions of power. You should not turn around and become somebody who doesn't do the same for those who are up and coming. And, sometimes when people get to the top of the mountain, they don't want anybody up there with them. And they can, become very paranoid about losing their power. So this is one of the reasons why you can become that mentor to somebody else, just like it was done to you. And this, to me, is the ultimate form of luck, where you take the luck that was given to you, if you want to call it luck, or just attracting something because of your desiring nature, however you want to slice it. Because I really think that of all the placements of Jupiter in Capricorn is really making your own luck in a lot of ways. Maybe the same with Jupiter in Virgo, where it's about things that have to do with your own efforts versus just things dropping in your lap. But even, and this is, I think, where it gets tricky with people, because they have a tendency, when they have made it, and especially if they have had to climb up the ranks, and it wasn't easy. Maybe, the person didn't start with much to begin with. That sounds, that's a bit redundant, starting to begin with. So a person, if you're the kind of person who was born into modest circumstances, and by your hard work, you pulled yourself up the ranks to a position of power and success in your career at some point, and you're listening to this, you may say, well, I did it the hard way. I mean, I did it I put in my elbow grease, and that's why I'm where I'm at. And when you think about it, if you have Jupiter in Capricorn, you may realize, oh yeah, I did have a bit of a lucky break, because I had somebody who saw something good in me, and they vouched for me. And because they were higher in the ranks, they had more say, and they got me that job. And yes, I was a hard worker, but there were a lot of hard workers, and they picked me. And you start to see these little signs of grace. Give those to other people. Don't just sit on top of the mountain and look down on others, is the point. And be a mentor to people, to younger people, when you get to be in that established position. That, to me, will help you bring luck. You're also and when I say luck, I should just say joy, because it's not just about luck and attracting money and attracting good circumstances. It's about feeling joyful and happy. And I feel like when you feel those emotions that are positive, you do attract good to you. So you may derive a lot of pleasure from objects that are old. And this can be anything that is, whether it's involving ideas. Tradition is the best way of putting it, that you really are connected to tradition. So preserving tradition may be something that appeals to you. And this can involve, even like if you're going to go on vacation, you may love to go to something that reenacts a historical event, visiting a cultural landmark that has some kind of, significance, tied to the past. But I think especially as it impacts our society in a great way, because the 10th house is going to be, something that is directed to the public. And so anything that is front and center, but yet dealing with the past. And one of the things that can happen too is, because there is that kind of conservative bent of Jupiter in Capricorn, an affliction or, difficult aspects to it can lead to that kind of ultra-conservatism, which it's not because it is that side of the political aisle that it makes it bad. This could be over-liberalism if we're talking about another sign. For instance, maybe Aquarius or something, which I'm going to be getting to next. Anything ultra is going to be excessive, and so and therefore imbalanced. And so it can be a situation where the person overemphasizes what is traditional, and they cannot see that we are, by our very nature, expanding as a race of people, as the human race of people. And, not to mention our spiritual expansion. I'm just talking about in a societal context, that we are expanding. That doesn't mean that anything goes, because sometimes tradition makes a lot of sense. And that when we get away from that, we're actually getting away from a lot of good things. But it's all about the exaggeration of that, which Jupiter can produce, especially if there are afflictions to it. So be on guard for that type of influence. And don't be a workaholic. Take joy in your career, but don't abandon your love life, your ability to see your children grow up, your friendships, just for the career, because that can, be construed as, narcissism, egotism, self-absorption, where you're not really trying to serve others. It's more about personal glory. And this is going to be an imbalance. Like I said, a person with Jupiter and Capricorn can take great joy in their career of choice, and that there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So in any case, I hope that you saw yourself in some of the traits that I've mentioned. I do this type of thing in my natal chart interpretations. You can check me out at rainandmoonastrology.com. The link to my online store is below. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.